News Report Updates. Greetings world. We are Anonymous News. We will follow up on the latest on the growth of the armed conflict between U.S. and Iran. There are statements by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying that the attacks against the pro-Iranian militia carried out during the last few days were to show that the Trump administration is willing to openly confront Iranian hostility. In other words, their actions are aimed at establishing the military superiority of the Pentagon over the Iranian counterpart. To put an end to threats from Tehran, President Trump declared to the press one day after the assassination of the leader of the Quds forces that after his execution Iran should surrender to the military superiority under his command, and insinuated that internally the Iranians should seek a regime change, implying that, in that case, his administration would be willing to negotiate and seek a relationship of mutual cooperation, which we must understand as an open declaration of war in case Iran continues to carry out attacks against U.S. armed forces or its allies. At the same time, Mr. Pompeo asked the possible Iranian allies, Russia and China, mainly, stay out of this conflict and do not intervene because the Trump administration is determined to put an end to the dispute before the Persian nation. President Trump also declared that the targets for future attacks have already been identified in the event of an armed response following the last day's attacks against the Iranian militia in Iraq. The warning was clear: surrender to our armed superiority or face the consequences of a major conflict. To which President Trump had commented before the New Year's Eve dinner. When he was asked about the possibility of a war against Iran, he responded, "I do not think that Iran wants to go to war. They would not last long. We would end them easily. The Iranians are the least indicated to provoke a war which would not last," he emphasized. President Trump is trying to call for patriotism to come out clean from impeachment procedure and at the same time take a second wind in his campaign for re-election. We must remember that this has been a strategy in the past used by the presidents to ensure their re-election. The war against Iraq and Saddam Hussein, and subsequent war against Libya, and then the terrorist organizations Bin Laden, ISIS, and now the pro-Irani militia, it will be the cause for which this new military escalation will be forced to happen at this time. The Pentagon has calculated that a large-scale armed conflict against Iran will not cause high risks to national security, specifically on American land. It is thought that a fulminating attack on their military and strategic facilities will be enough to defeat any opposition within Iran, and from that, to force their government to negotiate their surrender, a regime change, and a relationship of cooperation after the capture and submission of the capital Tehran. Will everything fall according to the Pentagon White House plans? We will find out in the next weeks, months.